picture this. You're traveling.
Oh, always a stressful start.
Right. I mean, you have been in transit for what feels like, I don't know, 3 days straight.
Yeah.
Your flight was delayed. You totally missed your connection. You're just completely exhausted. And your patience, it is entirely gone.
Oh, absolutely zero patience left.
Exactly. And all you want in the world, literally the only thing you care about, is for the service you paid for to just go exactly as it was supposed to.
Right.
But then it doesn't. A service you spent your hard-earned money on just goes completely horribly wrong.
It's the worst feeling.
It really is. You're standing there, tired, frustrated, and you know you need to say something. You have to speak up. But how do you do it without making the situation, like, 10 times worse?
That is the big question.
Welcome to the English Boost Podcast, everybody. Today we are exploring the cultural nuances and really the exact language you need to complain politely and, more importantly, effectively in American English.
Because it's tricky.
It is. So the mission today for you listening is to make sure you actually get what you want instead of just getting into some pointless yelling match.
Which nobody wants. I mean, it is a universally frustrating experience, right? Misunderstandings happen in every language in every country on Earth.
Sure.
But complaining in the United States requires a really highly specific approach. It's not just about, memorizing the vocabulary of a complaint.
Right. It's not just a translation exercise.
Exactly. The language you use is deeply tied to the psychology of American workplace culture. So if you try to complain in the U.S., using the cultural norms of, say, a more blunt or direct country,
You're going to have a bad time.
you are going to hit a brick wall almost instantly.
And I think before we get into the exact phrasing, the actual words to use, we need to look at the machinery behind that wall.
Yeah, that's crucial.
Like, we have to understand why the American customer service worker reacts the way they do when a conflict actually arises.
Right. And understand the mechanics of it, we look to the golden rule of American complaining. It's based on that old idiom, you can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Oh, yeah. The honey and vinegar thing.
Exactly. And this is basically the operational foundation of American customer service. If you approach a worker and express raw anger,
Like just yelling at them.
yeah, if you lead with your frustration and you raise your voice, American workers will almost always become instantly defensive.
Interesting.
They put up the psychological wall, they stop processing your actual problem entirely, and they will just stubbornly dig their heels in to insist that they're right. Or, that they just can't help you.
Which is obviously counterproductive, right? If your goal is to actually get a problem fixed. But why is that defensive reaction so strong?
Well, you have to look at the structural design of the U.S. economy. The United States is fundamentally a service-based economy.
Right.
And for decades, the foundational rule that gets drummed into every worker's head from their very first day of training is, the customer is king.
And the customer is always right.
Exactly. Now, combine that historical mantra with the reality of the tipping system.
Oh, right. Because that changes everything.
It really does. In many of these industries, like restaurants or hospitality, the customer directly pays the worker's wages through tips. That creates a highly, highly pressurized environment.
I can imagine.
Service workers are super motivated to keep you happy because their actual livelihood depends on it. They actively want to fix your problem right up until the exact moment they feel personally attacked.
So their financial incentive to help you is basically overridden by their biological instinct to defend themselves.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
It makes me think of arguing with a referee in a sports game.
Okay, I like that.
Like if a referee makes a bad call
Yeah.
and a player just sprints up to them, gets right in their face, and screams at them while pointing fingers.
Yeah, that never works out.
The referees are never going to change their mind.
Yeah.
They're standing in front of a huge audience, their authority is being threatened, and their adrenaline is just spiking.
Right, right.
They're going to double down on that bad call, purely out of pride and self-preservation.
That is precisely the dynamic. If you want that referee to review the play, your opening move has to completely bypass that threat response.
You have to lower the temperature.
Immediately. And to get the American customer service worker on your side, your very first move in the interaction has to be incredibly disarming. Which brings us to a tactical approach that honestly feels completely backwards to a lot of people.
Well, yeah, because the very first step to asserting your rights as a paying customer involves doing something that feels kind of like submitting.
It absolutely feels that way. So the first two steps of a successful complaint involve getting their attention gently using softeners like excuse me, or pardon me, and then immediately following that up with an apology.
Right.
Like saying, sorry to bother you, but
Okay, wait, I have to stop you there
I know.
because I know exactly what everyone listening is thinking right now. If I am the victim of bad service, like if the restaurant messed up my order or the airline lost my bag, why on earth am I apologizing?
It feels wrong, doesn't it?
Totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, I'm sorry, doesn't that immediately frame me as the weak party? Doesn't it sound like I'm admitting fault for a mistake that they made?
It's completely counterintuitive, yeah, if you look at the word sorry as a moral confession. But in American culture, this specific sorry is not an admission of guilt. Not at all.
What is it then?
It functions purely as a social lubricant. It is a de-escalation tool. By saying, sorry to bother you, you are signaling that you respect their time.
Oh, I see.
You're acknowledging their humanity, right? And the fact that they're busy working, it instantly lowers their defenses because it signals that you are a reasonable person, not some hostile threat walking up to ruin their shift.
So I'm essentially separating the worker from the mistake. It's less, I am at fault for this bad service, and more, I acknowledge I am interrupting your workflow to address an issue.
Exactly. You are managing the friction of the interruption. And you immediately pair the strategic apology with a deflection of blame.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, you follow up the apology by saying something like, I know this isn't your fault, but, or perhaps there was a misunderstanding, but
Ah, I like that.
yeah, this is where you leverage the structure of the business. Because think about a restaurant. The server who brought you the food is rarely the person who actually cooked it.
Right, they just carried the plate from the kitchen.
Exactly. If you attack the server for a burnt steak, they feel unfairly blamed for something totally outside their control.
Because it is outside their control.
Right. So by saying, I know this isn't your fault, you're kind of drawing a line in the sand. You are telling them, hey, we're on the same team here. The kitchen messed up. Let's fix it together.
That's so smart. You turn a confrontational me versus you dynamic into a collaborative us versus the problem dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That reframing is incredibly powerful. So, okay, bypass their ego. We've gotten their attention nicely. We've apologized for the interruption, and we've removed the personal
Yeah,
blame.
the foundational stuff. Yeah.
But now, it is time to actually articulate the problem. And this is where I feel like the theory gets very difficult to put into practice.
Oh, it really does.
Especially when our biology is actively fighting our good sense.
Yes, the biological factor is massive here, particularly in the classic restaurant scenario. So let's look at how this plays out when you are actually at the table.
Okay, set the scene for us.
You are at an American restaurant. You're feeling confident in your English. You look the waiter in the eye, and you order, say, a classic cheeseburger and a side of French fries.
A solid choice.
Right. So you wait patiently. The waiter finally returns, sets down the plate, and you look down to find a plate of, well, fish sticks.
It's entirely the wrong meal.
Yeah.
And your English was clear. Like, they just brought the wrong thing. And the natural knee-jerk reaction when you see food you don't want is to bluntly point at the plate and say, I didn't order that.
It is entirely justified factually. I mean,
Yes.
you did not order it. But structurally, delivering that sentence bluntly is a total trap.
Why is it a trap?
Because if you say, I didn't order that, in an abrupt, short manner, it violates the cultural expectation of politeness. It just invites a battle with the waiter because you're essentially calling them incompetent right to their face.
So let's talk about the physical delivery of those words, the intonation.
Yeah, that's key.
Because the words you use are kind of like the sheet music, like the actual notes on the page. But your intonation, the way your voice rises and falls, the sharpness or softness of your consonants, that is the instrument you're playing the music on.
I love that analogy.
Right. If you use a harsh, dropping intonation, you're basically playing that polite sheet music on a blaring trumpet.
And that blaring trumpet literally triggers a physiological response in the worker.
Really, like a physical response.
Yes. If you use a harsh tone, the worker's brain physically goes into fight or flight mode. The amygdala activates. At that point, they aren't even processing your logical argument about the fish sticks anymore.
They just hear the threat.
Exactly. Their nervous system is just reacting to a perceived threat. You want to bypass the amygdala entirely. You want to play this complaint on a soft violin.
Okay, so how do we physically do that? How do we keep their prefrontal cortex engaged so they actually help us?
A soft, upward inflection at the end of your sentences makes a world of difference here.
Upward inflection, like a question.
Yeah, it makes the statement sound inquisitive rather than declarative. So instead of the harsh drop of, I didn't order that, You combine the upward inflection with the steps we just discussed.
Okay, let's hear it.
You say, "Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry to bother you, but this isn't what I ordered."
Oh, that sounds so much softer.
Right. Or utilizing that deflection we mentioned earlier. "Excuse me, sir. There seems to have been a misunderstanding. I think they got the wrong order."
Wow, there seems to have been a misunderstanding. It's such a clinical, passive phrase.
It is.
It completely removes the human error from the spotlight. It doesn't say, you made a mistake. It just says, like, a mistake exists in the universe, and we're now looking at it together.
Exactly. It takes the ego completely out of the equation. Now, let's complicate the scenario a bit, because getting the wrong food is one thing. What if the waiter hasn't brought the fish sticks or the burger or anything at all?
You're just sitting there.
You have just been waiting and
Yeah.
waiting. Your blood sugar is crashing.
Oh, no. This is where we run into the physiological stress response.
Yeah,
In American English, we have a very specific term for this.
we do.
Hangry.
Hangry. The beautiful combination of hungry and angry.
It is so real.
It really is. When your blood sugar drops because you've been waiting for food, cortisol just floods your system. You become irritable.
Oh, yeah.
The biological urge to lash out is incredibly strong. Your patience evaporates and that blaring trumpet intonation wants to come out.
Oh, you just want to wave your arms and shout, "Where is my food?"
Right. But if we know that shouting triggers the waiter's fight or flight response, we know that waving our arms is just going to make them avoid our table.
They'll just hide in the kitchen.
Exactly. We have to mentally override our own biology in that moment.
So you have to fight the hangry instinct.
You really do. The polite formula to check on a delayed order, even when your body is screaming at you to be aggressive, is this. "Excuse me, waiter. I'm so sorry to bother you, but we have somewhere to be. Could you check on our order?"
Adding "we have somewhere to be" provides a really elegant out, I think.
It does.
It gives a reason for the urgency that isn't just, "You are too slow and I am incredibly annoyed."
Exactly. It provides necessary context. The waiter will absolutely understand the subtext. I mean, they know you have been waiting too long and that you are not happy.
Sure.
But because you wrapped that frustration in the polite, apologetic formula, they will rush to the kitchen to advocate for you. They'll yell at the kitchen staff on your behalf rather than avoiding your table because you yelled at them.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
So we've mapped out how to handle the low-stakes problems. It's relatively easy to keep your cool over a plate of fish sticks or a delayed burger. But what happens when the financial stakes are massive? What happens when a mistake ruins your entire trip and costs you thousands of dollars?
Yeah, the emotional beast is entirely different when the stakes are high. So let's look at the classic hotel disappointment.
Okay.
Here's the scenario. You have just finished a grueling 14-hour international flight.
Exhausting.
You navigated customs, you paid for an overpriced taxi, and you finally check into your hotel. You were dreaming of a hot shower and a nap. And you specifically paid a premium for a non-smoking room with a beautiful beach view.
The relief of finally sliding that key card into the door is immense.
Oh, it's the best. But you open the door and reality hits. The room smells heavily of stale cigarette smoke. You look at the bed and the sheets are visibly dirty.
No.
And when you open the curtains to look at the beautiful ocean you paid for, you are staring directly at a concrete parking lot.
Okay, that is pure travel nightmare territory right there.
It really is.
I think anyone would be seeing red in that moment. The urge to storm down to the lobby and just scream at the front desk clerk would be almost overwhelming.
It is deeply upsetting, and frankly, it's a breach of the contract you made with the hotel.
Absolutely.
But again, storming down to the front desk and unleashing that anger will not get you the best outcome.
Right. Honey, not vinegar.
Exactly. The person standing at the front desk did not clean your room, and they certainly didn't design the hotel to face the parking lot.
Fair point.
If you attack them, they will shut down.
Mm.
You need them to act as your ally in a high-stakes negotiation. So, we piece the entire formula together.
Okay, how do we do it?
You approach the desk calmly. You consciously relax your voice and you say, "Hello, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have a complaint about my room. I reserved a non-smoking room with a beach view, and the room smells like smoke and looks over the parking lot."
Okay, so the facts are clearly stated. We've used the polite intro. We haven't blamed the clerk personally.
Right.
But how do we bridge the gap between stating the facts and actually demanding that they fix a wildly unacceptable situation?
This is where we introduce the final step, I like to call it the secret weapon of American complaining.
Ooh, a secret weapon.
Yes, instead of demanding a fix, instead of commanding them by saying, give me a new room right now, you end your complaint with a question.
A question.
You lay out the terrible state of the room, and then I'll ask, do you think you can maybe do something about it? Or you ask, how can we fix this? Or what do you recommend?
I got to push back on this.
I figured you might.
Yeah, because if I paid hard-earned money for a clean room and a beach view, and they gave me a dirty ashtray overlooking a parking lot,
Right.
asking, what do you recommend? Feels like I am asking permission to get what I already own.
I get that.
I mean, I am the customer. I shouldn't be asking for their advice. I feel like I should be commanding them to fulfill the terms of my reservation. Doesn't asking a question surrender all my power in the negotiation?
I completely understand why it feels that way. It feels very passive. But in the psychology of American customer service, asking a question actually grants you more power, not less.
How so?
Because a command creates a wall, but a question creates a bridge.
Okay.
Think about it. When you issue a direct command, like, give me a new room, you give the clerk a very easy binary choice. They can either say yes, or they can say, we have no other room, sorry.
And if they say no?
If they say no, the conversation is over. You've hit a dead end, and you have nowhere else to go.
But when I ask, how can we fix this? I'm kind of forcing their brain to activate its problem-solving centers.
Yes.
Like I'm putting the ball in their court, but making them do the heavy lifting to figure out the solution.
Precisely. You trap them into doing the work for you. And a hotel often has many more options available than just a simple room change.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. If they are truly booked to capacity and genuinely cannot physically move you to a new room, your collaborative question opens the door to hidden compensations.
Hidden compensation.
Yes, because customer service workers have discretionary power. If they like you, because you treated them with respect while you were clearly in a terrible situation, they'll use that power.
What kind of power are we talking about?
Well, they might offer a significant partial refund. They might waive your resort fees for the week. They might hand you vouchers for free mojitos at the hotel bar.
Oh, I like free mojito.
Right. But if you aggressively demand a new room and they physically can't give it to you, you get nothing. If you ask how to fix the situation, they will bend over backwards to find a way to appease you.
Wow. So you are leveraging their customer service training to your absolute advantage.
Completely.
But we have to address the worst case scenario.
Okay, let's hear it.
What if they just say, sorry, there's nothing I can do?
Yeah.
What if the collaborative question completely fails?
It happens. If the frontline worker is unhelpful, or, if they simply lack the authorization in their computer system to give you a refund, you still don't raise your voice.
Keep the violin playing.
Keep the violin playing. You simply and politely escalate the situation. You use one more calm, measured phrase. I'd like to speak to a manager, please.
Because the manager's entire job description is ensuring customer satisfaction and protecting the reputation of the business.
Exactly. The front desk clerk is bound by strict rules regarding what they are allowed to give away. The manager has the systemic power to authorize the big refunds, the major upgrades, or the comped meals.
And when that manager walks out from the back office?
If they see a calm, polite customer dealing with a highly legitimate problem, their instinct will be to fix it immediately.
Because you look reasonable.
Right. But if they walk out to find a customer screaming and berating their staff, their instinct will be to protect their employee and probably remove you from the premises.
Which means no beach view and no mojitos.
Exactly. 0 mojitos.
So if we synthesize all of this, navigating this specific cultural landscape requires a very calculated strategy.
Very calculated.
First, you have to manage your own physiological response. You have to stay calm, keep your voice relaxed, and consciously control your intonation.
Yeah, keep that soft violin playing.
Right. Avoiding the blaring trumpet that triggers their defensive instincts.
Managing your emotional presentation is really the critical first step.
Then you execute the formula. You get their attention gently, and you deploy the counterintuitive apology as a social lubricant to lower their defenses.
Excuse me, sorry to bother you.
Yes. Then you state the problem clearly while deflecting personal blame away from the worker.
There seems to have been a misunderstanding.
And finally, you avoid issuing direct commands. You end with a collaborative question that forces them to activate their problem-solving skills on your behalf.
How can we fix this?
It is a brilliant, highly effective framework for the United States because it just perfectly aligns with their specific service culture.
It really does. It flatters the worker, it avoids triggering the amygdala's fight or flight response, and it leverages the customer is king mentality without you ever actually having to act like a tyrant.
It's like having a psychological cheat code for getting exactly what you want when you travel.
It really is.
But this raises a fascinating question to leave you with, as you reflect on all of this at home. We've established that this hyper-polite, indirect, apologetic framework is essentially mandatory in America.
If you want good results, yes.
But what happens when you take this exact, polite, complaining formula and try to use it in other cultures?
Now that is the ultimate test. Does this extreme linguistic sweetness translate universally?
Right.
Think about it. If you take the same apologizing, indirect approach to a country that culturally values blunt, straightforward directness, say, like certain parts of Northern Europe, would it completely backfire?
I mean, they might just look at you like you're crazy.
They might. Would this careful maneuvering come across as weak or even worse, as manipulative and passive-aggressive?
It's a great point. It's something you really have to think about the next time you cross a border. The English words might be exactly the same, but the cultural operating system you're plugging them into is entirely different.
Exactly. You can't just translate the vocabulary, you have to translate the intent behind the words.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this exploration on the English Boost podcast. We hope you take these tools, pack them in your suitcase, and use them to navigate your next trip with a lot more confidence.
Absolutely.
Remember to keep the intonation soft, ask the right collaborative questions, and go get those free mojitos. We'll see you next time.